Welcome to Issues and Answers with Diane Kinderwater. Issues and Answers is presented as a public service to inform, educate, and better the lives of New Mexicans. And now, Issues and Answers with your host, Diane Kinderwater.
Welcome to the program. I'm Diane Kinderwater. 2025. We are now well into this new year. 25 years since the millennium. Remember that? Think back 25 years. How have you changed? How's your family changed? How has the state of New Mexico changed? Well, money-wise, we know our state budget sure has changed. Are we getting our bang for the buck? Just in the past 6 years, our state budget has ballooned 75%. Are we that much better off? 6 years ago, or even 25 years ago? On the program today, we're going to talk to freshman Senator Jay Block, District 12. We're going to learn about where his district is, but also what happened in this past legislative session in the year 2025. What is going on with all of our money? They say we're a rich state. Well, my guess says the state budget, the state government is rich in money, but our people were not. We're going to talk about how maybe we can change that. And again, what happened in the year 2025 in the legislative session. We'll be back with Senator Jay Block right after this. Please stay with us. When you think of your life, what's most important? What's most critical? Well, first, of course, what's critical is the air we breathe. We got to be able to breathe. And then, of course, water to sustain us. And then, of course, food and shelter. Those are just minimally what we need to survive. But for me, I think it's safety. My safety after those things is important. And of course, healthcare, education for our future. Not for me, I've been educated, but for the kids, for the future of our state. And then of course, roads, I need some good infrastructure to get around. So those are the important things for me. And again, first is safety. But when we come to my taxes, your taxes, what we pay for government, are we getting our priorities? Are we getting what is important to us? I'm not sure about that. But State Senator Jay Block has his priorities, and he can tell us all about what the state legislature's priorities have been in the year 2025 as our state budget ballooned to $10.9 billion. Welcome, Jay. It's time to smile, even though we don't want to smile. Welcome to the program, and congratulations on your first legislative session.
Okay.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's great to be here again with you, Diane. I appreciate you having me back on the show.
You liked my intros.
I loved your intros because it captured exactly what happened up in Santa Fe this 60-day session. You probably saw me on the Senate floor talking about the state budget. I didn't vote for it because what I talked about here in New Mexico is our state population is 2.13 million people, right?
2 million people.
We'll call it 2 million.
It's kind of a nice small state.
But between 2009 and 2024, we grew less than 1%. Less than 1%.
People don't want to come here, I guess.
They don't want to come here. We can get into that here in a little bit. But the state government ballooned under this administration when Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham took office in 2019 on January 1st to now, 6 years later, the state government increased 75%. So my argument on the floor was, well, is our education 75% better? No, we're still last. Are our roads 75% better? No, they were just rated worst in the nation. Has crime decreased by 75%? Nope, we are still we're sitting in Albuquerque, New Mexico, one of the most dangerous cities, not in the country, on the planet. I mean, Tijuana is more safer than us. I mean, that's how bad it is. Healthcare, are we able to get quicker access to healthcare? Nope, worse. How about our poverty? How about the wealth of our citizens? Over the past 3 years, the average poverty rate was over 18%. It's the largest in the nation. So my argument is, what are we doing with all this money? Billions and billions of dollars. And I talked about the state being rich, like you said. New Mexico is very, very rich.
Well, we know it's rich in the beauty.
The beauty, the culture, but it's also rich in money.
Oh, that's what
It's
I heard
rich
you
in
say.
money.
Rich in money, because
But
you
we're
don't
not.
feel like we are. We don't feel
Well,
like
we're
we
not.
are.
It's the state government is extremely filthy, filthy rich, and the people are suffering. And we put forward as Republicans several bills to get the money back to the people, and we could not get hearings in these various committees.
But to interrupt, Senator Block, I'm so pleased to hear that on the Senate floor, for all your fellow, these are representatives of us, of you and me. These people are our representatives up there, and you were able to speak directly as a freshman senator, to speak about this, things that have been said maybe in the past, but you took the time and effort to research it, to find the numbers, find the 75% increase, find the population, all of this, and you were able to have them, they had to listen to you because you were there talking.
Well, when you're speaking on the Senate floor, you're not trying to convince the other side. You're not, because they're locked in. What I'm speaking to is all of New Mexico. I'm speaking to the people of New Mexico that can watch on the video, that are sitting up in the gallery, that can hear the story. I'm not talking to the Democrats on the floor at all. Maybe, one will come over or two, and I think maybe one Democrat did vote against the state budget, but I'm talking to New Mexicans across the state that are paying attention and watching the Senate debate. That's
okay,
who I'm
so
talking to.
I'm not going to interrupt you again.
That's okay.
But tell us then other things that you said in the speech about this budget,
Well,
about this $12 billion budget.
I talked about exactly, what are we getting for this? Are we getting better education, better roads? Are we getting better safety? Are we getting better health care? The answer is no. We're not getting anything better. And where's all this money going? I mean, you can go look and see in the budget. And I understand, things increase, costs increase over time. So we've been stagnant in population since you were in the Gary Johnson administration for the most part. And Governor Johnson, I would argue, is the last great governor that this state has had, really understood the budget, and he understood that you have to say no. And he also understood an individual responsibility and getting government out of individuals' lives. And Governor Johnson was phenomenal at that. So we wanted to kind of do some Governor Johnson bills. I was a sponsor of eliminating the state income tax. Never got a hearing. That's 5%. 5% for every New Mexican that pays state income tax to have a raise. Because my other argument is, if the state government grew 75%, did your incomes increase 75% over 6 years? Probably not. If they did, by the way, congratulations, I'm extremely happy for you.
But our taxes did, because someone's paying for this government, and again, a lot of it is oil and gas. But our taxes, our
this
salaries
state would be
haven't.
decimated without oil and gas.
But that was,
and they wanted to try. They tried to destroy the state up there.
and it sounds like we could give a tax break because there's so much. We're washing money. We really are. Okay, so 5%. You wanted to give us our money back, 5%. I mean, you didn't want us to have to pay our money into government, our state.
Exactly,
taxes,
because I wanted
income
to
tax.
I want to make New Mexico more competitive. So we have the Permian Basin, which is an amazing resource to have here in New Mexico. We're the second largest producer in the country when it comes to oil and gas. Second largest. This is an economic and national security issue for New Mexico and New Mexicans. So what we want.
And point out how that. I heard you say that before.
Mm-hmm.
Is an economic and national security. I know the answer, but tell our
Well,
viewers.
from a national security standpoint, we want to be energy independent. We don't want to be going over to these countries that hate us and paying them money, because they were trying to kill us when we were over and I was over in Afghanistan, and my brothers were over in Iraq, my brothers and sisters. So we want to pay Venezuela. We don't want to pay Iran. We don't want to pay some of these nations that want to just kill us and harm us. They're not our friends. So we have the ability to produce the cleanest energy in the world, with the best technologies in the world, with so many advances in fracking. So we can do that here in New Mexico.
That's our security.
That's our security. And the economic security is, Senator Ann Thornton and I put together a bill, the only bill Republicans put forward that had every single Republican in the House and in Senate sign on to it. And basically what we did was we wanted to set New Mexico up kind of like Alaska. We wanted an oil and gas tax rebate for every New Mexican resident, whether you're 1 day old or if you're one of those people who are, Elon Musk found out you're 175 or 200 years old.
We got them here in New Mexico.
We got them here in New Mexico. But we wanted to give them a $500 check or tax rebate, so they can use that for anything they want, because we feel as Republicans, you're taxed too much. What are you getting for your taxes? Inflation in the Biden administration was some of the worst inflation we've had probably since the late 70s and all the way up to 1982. So we wanted to give them a break, and we couldn't even, we got a hearing on the oil and gas tax rebate bill 2 days before the session ended. So the Democrats aren't serious about providing any type of economic relief.
In the oil and gas, it's in our backyard, it's here. So that's the idea. Actually, Senator John Arthur Smith, who is retired, was on our show. I thought
He just passed away too. Yeah, great senator, by the way.
Great senator.
And we honored him up at the session.
And let's take a moment actually to think about the late Senator John Arthur Smith. He was a friend of us at KCHF TV and Issues and Answers. He was always gracious to be on the program. But what I mentioned to him, I didn't want him to get sick over this, but I said, you know, the oil and gas industry is giving the state so much money. If we're giving a tax break, why don't we give them their money back? And he said, oh God, they're so rich, they don't need it. But I guess I was thinking they're paying into it. Why don't they get the money back?
They were getting penalized severely in this session. So on top of the taxes they pay already, there was another tax bill to charge them another $450 million in taxes. We were able to kill that because they have given the state so much. I mean, we have over 100,000 jobs here that's related to the oil and gas industry. And what we're doing, not we, not me, but what the other side is doing up in Santa Fe is they're raising their taxes, or trying to. They're also increasing the regulations on them. And it doesn't hurt people like Exxon or Shell. It hurts all the little independent producers that are going to move out of Texas, or I'm sorry, move out of New Mexico to Texas.
They're kind of like putting their hand out, pay us the taxes, and then a stick and hitting them.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's how long are they going to stay around if you're chasing them out?
More and more and more money. And I would argue the most dangerous time for any New Mexican or any business in the state of New Mexico, the most dangerous time in their lives is when we're in session up at the Roundhouse.
Ah, okay. And he's not joking.
No, I'm not joking.
So what, we're going to talk later in the program, what are we getting for this $11 billion? But getting back to those bills, like the common sense bills from the Gary Johnson era 30 years ago when he was governor, vetoed a lot of things because he
would have been great if he could. I wish he'd run for governor again.
He believed that people could make their decisions themselves, better decisions, and their money, they can spend it best for themselves and their families than government does, because we've just given government $12 billion, and what are we getting?
About $11 billion.
$11 billion. So what are the other bills common sense bills that you tried to
talk about health care. We are the only state, Diane, last year where we lost doctors. They were leaving the state. Every other state was gaining doctors. You know, people out of med school going out of these other states. We lost doctors. So I partnered with a very progressive Democrat, guy named Martin Hickey, who's also an MD, and worked with him on SB 176. And we had about 24, 25 Republicans and Democrats come together and say, we got to fix this, because a couple of years ago when that medical malpractice bill went through, which decimated our healthcare industry, by the way, the people who are ruining healthcare in this state are trial lawyers. That's who's ruining. If you can't get an appointment, it takes you months, go call a trial lawyer.
Blame them. So is this a bill that was associated with Fred Nathan and Think New Mexico?
It was, actually.
He was been a guest on our program at the beginning, prior last year, talking about malpractice and how it's ruining our medical system because they're spending millions of dollars on these lawsuits, and they're winning, and they're going to Santa Fe for the judgments because they're more liberal there, and doctors are saying, I'm not going to put up with this. But again, Fred Nathan and Think New Mexico explained
Think New Mexico did a really good job helping us try to get this through. So I'm on two committees, the Rules and Public Health Committee. I call it Soviet Health. It's bad. I mean, some of the bills that come through there are just bad.
So what happened with this medical
Senator Hickey
awards?
And a great senator, guy named Senator Pat Woods, who's our minority whip, wonderful, wonderful man. They came to our committee and they advocated for this bill to pass our committee. And we thought we were going to get this passed, and it died in our committee.
And Dr. Hickey wanted the senator.
Dr. Hickey, Democrat, progressive Democrat, wanted this bill. with me, a conservative Republican, to, and by the way, the bill it didn't go as far as I wanted to, but it went further than where we're at. And the doctors all wanted this. We had a lot of doctors, a lot of healthcare providers in the audience. They wanted this. But
And this was what, a cap, or what was this, a cap on jury awards?
Well, it also, like, so say, let's just say you sued, right? It didn't prohibit anybody from suing for medical malpractice. And that's what the trial lawyers tried. They lied. They really lied about that. So the other part was, and some of this I didn't like, but I was willing to do it. So if you had, just say, $1 million settlement, 25% of that would go to you, 75% would go to a fund in the state. And the reason why we set it up like that is because if you're young and you have a medical issue, you're going to have years and years and years of treatment. So the money would come, part of the
to
money,
kind of guarantee that
to guarantee it was there for you for the rest of your life.
If they gave it to the person, it may not have been there.
It might not have been there. So
Okay.
that's how we set that
Well,
up.
that makes, okay.
It made sense. And then it capped some of the damages against trial lawyers. And I got to tell you, some of the most useless, evil people, complete scumbags, are some of these trial lawyers that care more about lining their pockets than about helping make sure that New Mexicans have health care, especially in the rural areas and on the tribal lands as well. This was a very, very bad day for New Mexico when the trial lawyers said no to New Mexicans for health care.
And so why do some legislators listen to the trial lawyers?
Because they get money. Who do you, just follow the money, Diane. Who do the trial lawyers give money to? Follow the money and you'll see why the bill died. Now you can tell I'm probably not getting any money from trial care lawyers for my reelection.
You're saying for campaign and reelections,
Absolutely.
the trial lawyers are...
Absolutely. They dump a lot of money
Giving
into legislators. Absolutely.
You're at the health committee, that's where it died?
Yep, that's where it died. And it was seen very late in the session. So what I realized as a freshman is the power up at the Roundhouse is in the committee chairs, because the committee chairs will decide, what bills are going to be seen and when.
We're not smiling any longer. We're not smiling any longer.
No.
No, and as I said at the beginning of the program, after safety, number 2 is healthcare for me.
Well,
so,
safety,
so you just kill the healthcare. I mean, the doctors...
Well, I can talk about...
Anyone watching, trying to get an appointment is just horrendous.
Yeah, and I can talk about...
Let's go to my number 1 priority, safety.
So we passed this omnibus crime bill, and again, I voted for it, but it was one of those bills, I didn't think it went far enough. So we Republicans, we had about 6 or 7 amendments that we introduced to make it stronger on the Senate floor. Every amendment to make the crime bill stronger was shot down by the Democrats in the Senate. So we couldn't strengthen it. So we had to kind of accept what it was, because it was a little bit better than where we're at now. So we voted for it. But we need Democrats to actually come together and say, enough's enough of, we got to put these murderers and rapists and robbers and drug dealers away for a long, long time. In fact, the juvenile crime, this was ridiculous. They put forward a bill, the Democrats. So if you were a juvenile and you murdered somebody, you raped somebody, they wanted to give you $2,000 a month when you got out till you're 26 years old. I mean, just ridiculous. How does that incentivize good behavior? It's just awful. It's insane what some of the stuff we saw up there.
What kind of crime bill did pass?
It was an omnibus crime bill. So it had a bunch of different things in there, and we'll see how it works out. But I think we're going to have to go back and reattack crime, and we will.
There was still, I heard discussion that maybe the governor might call another special session on that, or wants. I mean, she did last time without anything coming out of it. I mean, it's just a waste of our taxpayer dollars. It sounds good. Maybe at a campaign that I called for a special session on crime.
Well, the governor likes to blame the legislature for not doing anything on crime. But the problem is, it's actually her and the Democrat Party. Because they got rid of so many people. You talked about John Arthur Smith. John Arthur Smith was a great senator who was strong on crime and a fiscal conservative. And they primaried him and got him out of there. And they did that to a lot of senators and reps.
That means he was a long-running state senator, and within his own party as a Democrat, he didn't make it into the
far-left progressives.
He didn't make it to the general election because in the primary, even though he was serving for many years, he was ousted out.
The far-left progressive took him out and took other senators out. And now there's so many senators so far left, so far progressive, it's tough to work with them. But there's some good ones over there. I work with Senator George Munoz. He's a good one. I can work with Senator Pete Campos. He's a good one. Senator Gonzalez was another one that actually voted to kill Paid Family Medical Leave Act, which would have decimated small businesses. Those three gentlemen right there are all in the Senate Finance, and they're the ones that helped kill Paid Family Medical Leave Act and actually save a lot of businesses
That
here
was
in
getting
Mexico.
close. It was a close.
It was very, very close. It'll probably come back again.
And that bill would have done what?
It would have forced small businesses, 4 people and up. Basically, the owners would have had to have let these people go for 6 weeks to 12 weeks, whatever it was, because I know there was some compromise in there, but paid them and then hire someone to come in for however long.
Double paid. Double.
Yeah, it's just, it was ridiculous. And we can't find people to work anyway. We have one of the lowest labor participation rates in the country. Yeah.
I'm not laughing. What about your bill to look at state government and find out what are these people doing and do we need them in the positions?
So this came out of the Elon Musk Doge initiative going on. And right now, as you and I are having this April 21st, it's over, I think it's close to 160 billion, 155 billion that they have saw in fraud, waste, and abuse. So we put something together.
That's for the federal government.
That's for the federal government. So we put something together at the state. I had a sponsor too on this government accountability to taxpayer office, GATO. And we want
government
accountability
to
taxpayers.
That's us.
Yep, office.
Yep. Okay.
Yep, it was a great bill.
To create an office for that?
It was the vision, the goal of that was to create an office about 5 to 7 people that are continuously looking across the spectrum of state government using emerging technology tools, AI, looking at software engineers, financial experts, procurement experts, contract experts, and looking across. And basically, it's a continuous audit across state government. And during the session, a big story in the Albuquerque Journal was the state government overpaid people $250 million in COVID payments. Well, if we had some type of organization available with the tools and the technology and the authority to stop that, that would have saved us $250 million. And if you look at our state budget increasing 75%, there's a lot of fraud, waste, and abuse and inefficiencies out there that we can definitely expose and eliminate, and then change course.
And what happened to that bill, Senator Block?
Well, that bill was seen on the second of last day of the session, and it was tabled in committee because the Democrats did not want any transparency. They said this is already happening across state government, which is not. And I'm going to work with the state auditor, a Democrat, to set up an Office of Inspector General in the state that will do exactly the same thing at the next 60-day session.
That has to be a piece of legislation as well to pass?
Yeah, and I've talked to the auditor, and we said we're going to work together.
Great. Okay, Senator J. Block, we just have a few minutes left. What did we get for our $11 billion this year? What are we getting?
Well, not much.
No, we're getting $11 billion worth of something, Senator J. Block. Yeah. There's got to be, that's a lot of money for New Mexicans. It is a lot of money. And, it's our money. Our money we're paying government,
$600 million of that is new recurring spending, which I was against. That's not what we need.
$600 million new dollars.
In recurring spending. One of the things that I wanted to tackle that's related to healthcare is mental health and substance abuse treatment. And we put together on a bipartisan faction, Senate Bill 1, 2, and 3, and I think 2 didn't make it, but 1 and 3 did. We took $1 billion in one of the funds, set it aside, and you're using the market value of that fund. You're taking about 5% off the top, and you're funding across the state, across all 33 counties, behavioral, mental, and substance abuse treatments. And I was just in a documentary a few days ago that you can see on PBS, where I went under the Big I, basically, near there, and to the largest homeless encampment in Albuquerque, and walked the streets and walked the area, and we filmed down there. It was so sad seeing how these people are living, and we got to do something, because as pro-lifers, I think we would agree, even though these people have major issues, they still have value and still deserve an opportunity if they want it. And unfortunately, talking to a lot of people down there, they didn't want to get better.
You're saying they didn't want to get better. Why?
They wanted to live their life that way. They were so far gone. The drugs have totally just affected their brain and their way of thinking. It's so sad seeing so many young people down there that are just gone.
What percentage do you think are our veterans?
That's a good question. I don't know, but on the veteran side, we passed the most comprehensive veteran legislation in the history of New Mexico. This is something we've been pushing for a long time, is when a veteran leaves the military, they get a disability rating from 0 to 100. So if you're 100%, you don't have to pay property taxes when you buy a home. But when you're 90% or 0%, you get the same property tax benefit. We didn't think that was fair. So you apply your VA disability rating to your property taxes to get that prorated reduction, which was huge for veterans this year, as well as my bill that allows veterans free access to all state parks.
That's very nice.
Yeah.
Anything else? Congratulations. Thank you for that. And thanks to our veterans for serving all of us. Anything else you'd like to share about the session? We have 2 minutes left, Senator G. Black.
I just want to say to the people out there, your state reps and state senators, whatever party they are, they work very, very hard. We have a lot of disagreements up there, I think, but we want to make New Mexico great again. We want to make it safe again. We want to make it prosperous again. We just have very different views on how we get there. But there's a lot of work to do in New Mexico, and I look forward to my next 3 years in office, helping to move the ball forward for the great people in New Mexico.
And your district is where?
So my district is Southern Rio Rancho, basically because it's all just kind of weird how they do the district, but take Northern Boulevard, go all the way down to Paradise Hills, and I'm on the west side of 528. And it's a great district. It's kind of an urban district, but it's being a senator is totally different than my 8 years on the county commission, which in my opinion prepared me for a lot of issues up in the Roundhouse.
Very good. And a rich state? We're a rich state?
We're a rich state underground. We're a rich state culture. We're a rich state history, food, but we are a poor, poor people with a filthy, filthy rich state government.
And we're going to find out if we need, where's that money going? Are we going to see improvements?
We need to have complete transparency for the people in New Mexico, and that's why Gatto is so important.
Are we going to see any changes, though, with this $11 billion?
You elect more fiscal conservatives, you'll see some changes. You elect more people like Gary Johnson, you'll see some changes.
And again, Governor Gary Johnson, former Governor Gary Johnson, was a good friend of Issues and Answers as well. We appreciate him, and we appreciate you and all those who do serve our community. Thank you for watching the show. I'm Diane Kinderwater. Make it a great week with your family. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Issues and Answers with your host Diane Kinderwater is presented as a public service to inform, educate, and better the lives of New Mexicans. To comment on today's program, email us at info@kchftv.org or call us at 505-345-1991. Join us again for Issues and Answers with Diane Kinderwater.